Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our fourth day, our last day, sadly, of our Bushnell virtual summer camp. We're so glad you're with us today. We've got some exciting stuff going on. All week we've been live streaming from all over the Bushnell, and we've been learning a lot about education, entertainment, and of course, the arts. So we're so excited to have you back. Today, we're in the Ottorino Great Hall at the Bushnell. And if you look above me, you'll see this beautiful Chihuly sculpture that is blown glass designed by renowned sculpture artist Dale Chihuly. It is absolutely beautiful. So, in our session today, we're going behind the scenes of production. We'll look at the process for designing beautiful sets and get a tour of the sound studio that help musicians bring their creations to life. Our first guest joins us from one of the most creative companies in the world, Disney. So he's joining us from Disney. How incredible is that? Please welcome Patrick Flores. Patrick, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thank you very much, Patrick. Nice to see you.
So I did want to ask you if you could tell us just a little bit about, what do you do for Disney?
Well, basically, my team works with all of the 3D models of all the venues across all of our properties across the planet, and in putting together show bids, we take information from all of the disciplines, put them into coordinated models, work to make sure everything actually fits. We do pre-visualization so that show directors can actually stand in a venue before it's even built and make decisions about timing and size and color. And then we then take all that information and we develop, say, the scenic bid packages for going out to our vendors that tell the creative story in a technical way that our scenic shops can understand and give us pricing for fabrication.
Well, with that work, is that specifically for Disney World and any productions that are located on the property?
We are my team is based in Walt Disney World, but we support all 4 of the existing cruise ships. We're getting ready to kick off ship number 5 at the moment. I've done shows in Shanghai. I've done shows in Hong Kong. I've done shows in Paris. There's a different team that handles the shows that are based out in Anaheim, but they used to work for me, so I'm still connected to them, but I don't work directly in the California shows.
That's so exciting. Now, what was your career path? Did you go to school for this?
Well, I went to school to be a lighting designer and graduated with a lighting, scenic, and audio design degree. Spent a couple of years touring with the Big Apple Circus, and then got married and ended up working for the Mouse. Said I'd never work for the Mouse. Didn't have any interest in theme parks at all. And and I have no regrets. The Disney is an amazing company. We do a little bit of everything. We push the edges of technology. We're always trying new things that no one else has done, and sometimes we hit pitfalls, but ultimately we open our shows.
And what skills are necessary in terms of the work that you do? What's really the focus for anyone out there, kids who are listening today, who might be interested in what you do?
Sure. Having an understanding of 3-dimensional spaces and how things fit, having a scenic design background, having an interest in computers and technology. We work in Revit, AutoCAD, 3ds Max, Unreal. We're doing VR stuff. So an interest in emerging technologies is certainly a plus.
So what's your process usually when you're starting a project? How does it go from, the idea into it being implemented?
Certainly. Ultimately, we're handed, like in any theatrical show, we're handed a creative script. And then if it's an existing facility that we have drawings for, we then supply that to all the designers involved. And then we begin to look at their scenes within the space. What's showing on the screen is Rivers of Light, which was a nighttime spectacular at Disney's Animal Kingdom. Unfortunately, it was recently retired as a result of the current COVID-19 stuff. But this particular show had 15 or 16 barges in it, and everything moved on the water without a single person driving it. It was all computer-driven. Hippo and GPS and computer navigation and Navigator moved all these things across the water. And to the guest, it was all transparent. and except for when a show failed. But an amazing mixture of lighting and effects and water. In some of the shots, you could see some projection. We do projections on water screens that are literally 150 feet across. A very unique experience, a very beautiful experience, like nothing that anything else we've done. But we work through any of the challenges with the shows, and adapting a script and taking the designs that an artist or the lighting or audio or video designers have put together, marrying it all into one world. And then when we find collisions, we then get involved with the designers to try and solve them. Some of the things you see going by right now are projection shows on the Great Movie Ride at Disney's Hollywood Studios. And for this show, and the challenge we had is we had nothing to project from. And so we literally had to design 2 towers in the facility that sit out in the middle of the park so it could actually hit the target. But it changes from show to show. But we do video projection, we do theatrical shows, we do character meet and greets. This is the Walt Disney Theater on the Disney Fantasy, and for all of our stuff now, everything is 3D, so we can actually pre-visualize what things are going to look like. We can actually pre-program and allow our show directors to make decisions about things they were never able to do before. And once we get into the space, they're then focused on making tweaks to the show rather than sitting around waiting for programmers to lay in stuff. And
now, go ahead.
This year is an example of Disney's Aladdin, and this carpet was actually the development of this particular piece was done through Animatics, and it was the first time where we actually took something from a meeting and designed it into a 3D model, and took a video overlay and timing and did all the axes of automation, handed Animatic to the vendor and said, make it do this.
Can you explain the word animatics for anyone listening today a little bit?
Sure. An animatic is a video representation of what something might look like. So for example, in this, on the screen, you actually saw the carpet moving around, and we even had people sitting on it, and we would play music with it. And so you could actually see things happen when they were supposed to happen with the music.
Great. Now, do you have a favorite project that you've worked on with Disney?
Well, it's interesting your timing, because it's actually on the screen right now. This was the first projection show that we did here at Walt Disney World. And we, at the time of this show, this was the most complicated object that anyone had done architectural mapping to. It isn't apparent from sitting at one place, but we mapped 180 degrees around the castle, slightly more than 180 degrees. So anywhere that you stood around the castle, it looked like you would expect it to look. And we actually pushed the software, which was Hippo video servers, beyond what they were able to do, and actually drove them to change the way their whole interface is. But it was fun. I learned more about video and hippos than I ever wanted to know on this one, but had a really good time to it. And then when the video designers are out doing their stuff, we spent a lot of time playing Angry Birds at 2 in the morning.
Now, it seems like projection design is playing a larger role, especially over the last few years. Could you talk a little bit about what projection design really is and how it's being used, especially with Disney?
Sure, certainly. Video has really, as you said, has really evolved over the last 10 years. It used to be just a screen on a wall somewhere where you might have been projecting on something. But now we are able to take a 3D model and map it to coordinates within a video system so that we can actually have things move across an object in a way that looks natural. For example, in Beauty and the Beast on the ships, we do projection on the side walls of the theater that bring the stage out into the theater. We do that in multiple shows. With the castle stuff we were looking at, and again, when designing it, traditional video projection was 2-dimensional. So, it wasn't much more complicated than doing a comic art thing. But now you have to understand how it's going to wrap around an object without distortion, because if you aren't thinking in 3 dimensions, it's not going to look natural, and people are going to have challenges with it.
Interesting. And You know, especially with all the technology, I'm sure there's new challenges for you. You're always, you know, learning new processes yourself. What's the most challenging part of your job?
The most challenging part of our job is, well, a couple to tie together. So schedule and budget are always a problem. No matter how large or small your company is, those things are always going to be an issue. No one really has unlimited money. But then also getting the entire design team to work together to understand what we're doing. And you know, a director will ask for something, or a senior designer will draw something, and they look at things in two dimensions and don't always understand it. And so a big part of what my team has been able to help is be able to have people literally standing next to something that isn't there and understanding, oh, I asked for this to be 2 feet tall, but that's really too short. Let's make it bigger. Or, you know, it really getting people understand what they're asking for is the hard part.
I'm sure, yeah. The communication, working, you know, collaboratively, it's so important. So, what's the most rewarding part of your job?
The most rewarding part is when you stand out in front of one of your shows or in the audience with one of your shows and look around and see the emotions of your guest experiencing it. You know, one of my leaders. Yep, one of my leaders has said that you know, there's only about 400 of us that do shows for 30 million people a year, and just being able to actually see that is the reward in itself.
Oh, I'm sure. Now, do you have a project that you're working on? I'm sure, you know, COVID has affected things at Disney, but is there a project that you can share a little bit of information about that you're working on that you're excited about?
The most that I can share is we have another ship that's launching in a year and a half or so, depending on all the COVID stuff. Unfortunately, most of the other things that I'm working on right now are not announced, so I can't really talk about them. But in about a we'll have some stuff coming out on the news.
I'm sure. Top secret at Disney.
IP is important. Intellectual property.
Yeah, I'm sure. Now, I'm sure everyone watching today, especially all these kids, I'm sure they think that you're especially lucky with living, you know, close to Disney and working at Disney. Do you have any favorite stories, you know, about being at Disney World, working at Disney World, or just being a part of the whole Disney family?
You know, it's again, it really comes back to the guests and just really being out there and seeing the reactions. You know, sometimes when you're designing a show, it's, you know, you get focused on what's in front of you and you forget about the impact of the decisions that you're doing or what you're doing presents. And to just go into our parks and just see, you know, something as simple as a parade that we can't even do right now, but that because, you know, it pulls thousands of people together at one moment, which is not acceptable. I look forward to our industry as we try to figure out how to survive in a post-COVID world. I think it's here for a while, but I have worked with many designers and many creative people, and we will find solutions to give people that release that they need, whether it be at Walt Disney World or Universal Studios or hopefully back in theaters at some point.
Yeah, and that's such a good point to make. You know, I think we all need that escape and that level of enjoyment, and Disney has always played that role for a lot of us. So thank you for all that you do there as well. I just went last year, so I actually got to see that light show, you know, with the barge.
Oh,
it was great. Now, do you have any sort of favorite experience at Disney? You know, do you spend a lot of time? Do you get to go in the park at all?
I have a 13-year-old daughter and a 19-year-old son. The 19-year-old is less interested in going to the parks now, but there is one that we do like to go right now, and that is the Disney's Hollywood Studios for the new Galaxy's Edge. The Millennium Falcon experience, which is Smuggler's Run, is 6 of you get to climb in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, and the theming for the land is very immersive. You know, you definitely feel like you're in a Star Wars world. And the latest attraction, Rise of the Resistance, is a 20-minute experience that, you know, it is the most immersive experience that I've ever done. And, you know, I wrote it with my family New Year's Eve. We got up at 4 a.m. to get in line so we could get a pass to do it. And everybody was just blown away by it. You know, it's just.
Yeah, I haven't been able to go on the new ride, but I did go to the Star Wars Galaxy last year, and it was just incredible. I was blown away by the entire experience that Disney created. You know, the sounds, the smells. You really feel like you're immersed in this world, and it really just it was amazing that Disney created this experience for everyone coming through.
I am excited about the Star Wars Hotel, by the way.
I'm sure that will be good. I'm ready for that too. All right, Patrick, thank you so much for being with us. We have to wrap up, but I really appreciate taking the time to join us today. Thank you.
Take care. Pleasure speaking with you.
Now let's take a look behind the scenes here at the Bushnell. If you tuned in yesterday, you met Clint Muller, one of our volunteers here at the Bushnell, and he does a lot of our backstage tours. So we are going to take a little look behind the scenes with a little tour with Clint.
A typical show, a typical Broadway show has 5 to 6 trailer loads. When Lion King first came here, they had 31, and they've downsized to 18. When Wicked came, I talked to one of the stagehands people, and he said they had about 13. He said one trailer load was just souvenirs, one trailer load was just costumes, another trailer load was just portable office. They have these little pop-up office desks and stuff, because irregardless, it is a traveling show, and it moves from place to place to place. So it's quite interesting, how much equipment they really have to bring per show. If there is a show that comes here and it has quite a number of trailers, the overflow goes to Rensselaer Field in East Hartford, and they stage the trucks there during the few weeks that the big show might be here. For the 1996 presidential debate, the entire mezzanine level was boarded over so they could accommodate camera crews to broadcast the debate nationwide. They also had big, huge air conditioning units across the street with special hoses and piping coming up to the stage, because when the candidates were here, they needed to make sure that the candidates weren't sweating, so to make sure that they were comfortable. And they installed an ice rink here for Ty Babyloni and Randy Gardner, Olympians. They skated here. One thing I need to point out is these big three doors in the back. Part of a gift from the production company of Phantom of the Opera. Phantom was, as I was told, was a loaded production company. They had so much money. They were so popular and everything. So what they did was they would approach smaller to mid-sized theaters and say, geez, if you allow us to make accommodations to your theater, you can have a show, and you can also have other mega hits come to you as well. So those three doors on the far side is a big loading area that Phantom did for us at their cost. So it was really nice. And it helped us get Wicked, Lion King, etc. One thing I want to point out, and maybe a little bit difficult to see in the corner, I'm going to focus right to the left of that post. You see this jagged rock right there? Can you see that? So what that is there used to be a room up there. And there used to be another floor in a room, and they tore that down because when Showboat came years ago, the only way they could get Showboat off the stage was to knock that floor out. And that was the only way they could do that. Because if you look on this side, there's really no depth. Follow me, we'll go to the Stars dressing room. Okay, so this is the Stars dressing room, also known as the green room. And it kind of has a greenish hue, sort of, but that's not the reason why it's called the green room. We think that it may be called the green room because in ancient times, it was a grassy knoll off to the side of the amphitheater. And we think that's how the name derived over the years. So I know it doesn't look super fancy, but stars apparently, according to the Bushnell, love this room because it is literally right off stage. And the star can just pop out and do a quick appearance if they had to. So contracts, if you are the star of the show, your contract, it doesn't matter where you're appearing worldwide, your contract will say you will occupy the green room if you are the star of the show. So when Yul Brynner came, the room was initially painted green. He came for The King and I. The room was initially painted green. He hated the color green, and they gave his wife a a panel of colors, and she chose brown, and she wanted brown towels waiting for him. So that's what they did to accommodate him. When Carol Channing came, she required air conditioning. So air conditioning was installed for Hello Dolly, otherwise she wouldn't come. So we had air conditioning in here. When Eugene Ormandy, he was a conductor of the Philadelphia Orchestra. When he came, he said he wouldn't come unless it was a private bathroom. So right on the other side is a nice private bathroom. There is a private sink, a private shower, a private toilet, etc. Linda Evans and Joan Collins of Dynasty days, when they came, they wanted cable TV. So in the corner over here is a cable television, courtesy for them. Diana Ross, when she comes, she wants all this furniture is removed, and it's white furniture, white drapes, etc. And there's got to be white flowers waiting for her. She did ask our security folks when she appeared this last time if they were going straight to Canada, and they didn't have a chance to do it, so she asked them if they could go to get Ben and Jerry's butter pecan ice cream at the store for her. Tyler Perry brings us on a hot water heater with tea and lemon. And one thing I want to point out here is it looks really nice. It's got a nice curtain. But you can see like a garage door that kind of just slides up. The first time that Lion King came, they had no way to get the puppets and Pred Rock off stage. So they had to cut a hole, and this was used for puppet storage during the show. So downstairs, I should say 1989, Ed Asner came with Madeline Kahn for Born Yesterday. And Ed Asner got this room because he was the star of the show. But being the chivalrous guy that he is, he gave it to Madeline Kahn. So the Bushnell went downstairs. Apparently directly downstairs from here is another room similar to this that they've now created a second Star's dressing room. They call it the Ed Asner room. So during that 1996 debate, President Clinton could not use this room because these are windows, and it caused a security issue. So he went downstairs. I believe it was Bob Dole, his opponent, used this room instead. We did ask the stage manager, Mike Sivo, we asked who his favorite star was over the years. He said hands down it was Mickey Rooney. He said the guy would hug you, he'd grab a coffee with you, he'd laugh with you, cry with you, etc. We asked who his worst person was that he worked with. He said Anthony Quinn of Zorba the Greek. He said the man was just nasty to everybody. We did ask if people, stars come with, I'm sorry, but I only eat red M&Ms, hands down. And he says they don't get those kind of things, but I did talk to somebody in the industry, and he said sometimes they put something quirky in that, like that in their contract. So when they walk in the star's dressing room and they see a bowl of red M&Ms, they know the place is under contract. So could be one or the other. When Michelle Obama came, I specifically asked, and this was post-presidency, I specifically asked if she was going to be occupying this room, and they said yes, she was. They were going to put metal sheeting over these windows. Her visit was orchestrated in such a way that she couldn't be in one position more than 3 minutes. I mean, obviously, when she was on stage talking to the audience, there was Secret Servicemen looking at the audience, watching the audience. But when she wasn't on stage, they kept her moving throughout. Her favorite snack food requested was snack food popcorn. I think I said that right. Also, there was bomb-sniffing dogs in the area, and there were snipers on the surrounding buildings. So the Bushnell takes things very, very seriously, depending on who's here. Another tidbit, when Aretha Franklin came, this was years ago, when she arrived, she said, by the way, I don't sing unless I'm paid in cash. So her fee at the time was $50,000, and she, apparently the box office did whatever they had to do to get $50,000, and they gave her an envelope with $50,000 of cash in it. She fanned it, shoved it in her purse, walked on stage with her purse, plunked it down on the piano, sang her concert. When her concert was over, she then was expecting to just rehearse for her next gig, and the Bushnell said, "You're out of here," and they just started shutting everything down. So I'm not paying my guys overtime, for something that we're not getting anything for. So I don't think they were very, very happy. Ann Miller, she was a tap dancer in Sugar Baby. So when she came, before every performance, she would go and leave little bits of Kleenex down on the stage where she felt it was rough, and she demanded that it be sanded down to a smooth surface before she appeared. That's pretty much it. So it's been my pleasure, and we'd be more than happy to welcome you back. So thanks so much for joining. Take care.
So many interesting stories. You can always join us for a backstage tour here at the Bushnell. Once our doors are back open, you can schedule a tour and join us. It's so interesting to be here and go behind the scenes and hear about all the wonderful people who have performed here, but also learn a little bit about the architecture in the building. So today, during our mid-break, instead of moving our bodies, we're going to do something a little bit different. We are going to be using our voices, and we're going to do a little vocal warm-up as well. So to join us for this is Matt Derland. Take it away, Matt.
My name is Matt Derland, and I'm a music director who predominantly works in musical theater. And I'm so excited that I have these few moments to join with you on how to do some proper, healthy vocal warm-ups. So one of the first things that's so important about vocal warm-ups is how we're grounded, how we stand. So if we're sitting down, if we're lying down, if we're slunched over, we want to fix that. We want to make sure that we're standing nice and tall, and we want to imagine that there's a string that's pulling up the top of our head, keeping everything nicely balanced. If our shoulders are over, we want to make sure that they're leaning back a little bit, that we're not stretching up so high on the top of our feet, and that we're not sitting into our knees. So once you find that, and once you feel pretty well balanced, like your body is evenly distributed, we're going to take a deep breath in. So we're going to go to kind of make sure that we're grounded and that we know exactly where everything feels right and comfortable for our own voice. So one of the things that I love talking to actors about is a focal point. And a focal point is something across the room or wherever you are that's not all the way up there, not all the way down here, something that's pretty at eye level right across from you. And you're going to make that your focal point. The point that you're going to put all your energy towards. So you're staying focused and on key. So once you find that focal point, we're going to do a nice hum. And on that hum, we're going to use a pitch. And we're going to go, ready, and going up. Keep it moving, nice and relaxed. Now we're going to go back down. So humming is a really great way to get our voice warmed up. Instead of clearing our throat, which actually is a little painful, humming is a nice way to kind of get it warmed up and clear any phlegm or mucus or residue that we have from eating, from talking, or whatever allergies might be happening currently. So after we do a nice bit warming kind of a hum, we're going to do May. We're going to focus on a nice clear sound. And the word is May, like the month of May. And we're going to go May, 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 May. And when we say this, we want to kind of think that there's a story, right? So we're not just going to go May, 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 May. Sounds a little boring and a little flat. We have to think about it like there's a rise, there's a fall, there's some action happening, right? So when we go May, 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 there's a bit of a flip when we get up to the top part of our register. So we're going to do that again. From 5, 6, ready, and going up. Going back down. We're going to keep going. we've done a bit of humming. We've done some very dictated staccato kind of consonant sound. Now we're going to do what's known as an arpeggio, right? So we're going to focus on a really nice, smooth, transparent sound. And the words for this are over the mountainside. So once again, that's over the mountainside. And on that arpeggio, we're going to go over the mountainside. Now, we don't want to go over the mountainside or over the mountainside, a really breathy, kind of unsupported sound. We want to make sure that it's really smooth and all in one breath, right? So we have over the mountainside and landing on a side in a rich tone. So we're going to start here and we're going to keep it nice and gentle and flowing. Ready? 1, 2, ready. We're going to go higher. If you need to go down the octave, do so. One more going up. Now we go back down. Nice. So now that we've done some consonant, some arpeggios, some humming, we're going to use one song as an example of a really easy vocal placement. And believe it or not, Mamma Mia by the hit musical Mamma Mia from ABBA is a really great example because we're using our breath support, we're using dynamics, and we're using our consonants and vowels. So if you were to look at Mamma Mia, we would go. So the words are really simple. It's Mamma Mia, here I go again. My, how can I resist you? Really, really simple. It goes, Mamma Mia, here I go again. My, how can I resist you? So we're going to try that. It's a pretty well-known song. If you don't know it, don't worry about it. But we're going to go for a really light staccato sound. Ready? 5, 6, ready, and... Here I go again. How can I resist you? Nice job. So you've done a little bit of a vocal warm-up, you sang a little bit of Mamma Mia, you took some really nice deep breaths. Feel free to expand your vocal knowledge. If you ever are curious about more vocal warm-ups or vocal teachings, feel free to contact me. My name is Matt Durland. You can reach me at my email at matt.durland, DURLAND @outlook.com, and I'd be happy to give out vocal lessons via Zoom, FaceTime, Skype, whatever platform works best for you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Be safe out there, and hopefully you guys will get to enjoy some really wonderful theater in the next little bit of time.
In this show, we have hundreds of sounds that accompany certain actions that the characters make, and those are made in a variety of different ways, whether it's analog or electronic, and that's called Foley.
I guess the thing I would most liken it to is creating sound effects for a movie and making that happen live on stage 8 times a week.
We have a taxi cab horn. When SpongeBob wakes up in the morning out of a nightmare, that's the sound that gets. Here's one of my favorite ones. These are called stretch tubes. So when Sandy drops a book and it lands on SpongeBob's foot, it sounds like...
Ryan, our Foley artist, is super awesome. He kind of has to keep up with everything that we're doing, whether it's the steps or the jumps or, flipping Krabby Patties or anything like that. You really have to stay tuned into each other.
Everybody has to be aware of what's going on, and I have to be reacting to everybody on stage whenever they're moving and whatever happens differently on any given night. My favorite Foley sound in the show would have to be Squidward's his little squat and walk sound. It almost makes me break every time I'm on stage in the opening number. My best imitation would kind of be like a
the iconic hearing SpongeBob's shoes whenever he walks. We have that like I can't do it.
I literally until this moment didn't actually think about that is the Foley going.
Mr. Krabs has his like little when the thing gets dropped, the eruptor gets dropped, and there's a really long, an awesome cue that happens, and I'm not going to tell you.
Spoiler alert. I also like the long squeak. There's short squeaks for the footsteps, but then there's like a and it's longer.
That's exactly how it sounds.
And I really like that one.
All of the Foley sound effects really make me feel like I'm living in a cartoon. It's so fun.
It really helps establish the world. It would be a totally different show if you didn't have the Foley artist.
Those Foley artists are so impressive. If you haven't seen SpongeBob, hopefully you can see it sometime soon. It's such a great show. So outside of stage productions, sounds aren't usually produced live. They're produced in a sound studio where they can be mixed and balanced with other sounds to make sound effects in a scene or for music. Today, we're going inside a sound studio to see what it looks like and maybe make some sounds while we're there. Let's take a look.
Hey! Hi there! Welcome to Tapeworks Recording Studio. I'm Bill Ahern, and I'm the owner of Tapeworks Recording Studio. And so thank you for coming. And so check this out. We're going to talk a little bit about what a recording studio is, and then we'll give you a little bit of a tour, and then maybe we can talk. What's a recording studio? Well, a recording studio is a place a lot of people think where you make music, you record music, you bring bands in, you sing, you do all of these things. But that's not just it. We do a whole bunch of other things. So we do sound design.
Been here for weeks. This place gives me the creeps.
Did you see the video for the sound design on SpongeBob, the theater production? That's killer. That's called Foley. We do a lot of Foley. We record voiceovers all the time. We record for Disney, we record for Lego, we record for ESPN. We put all of that stuff together and mix it together and make it sound really good. So what we like to say is if it makes noise, we record it, mess with it, edit it, chop it up. And again, it doesn't just have to be music. But we really like to work on music. Anyways, cool. Thanks for coming.
So interesting. Now here to take us on a tour is Bill Hearn, Chief Engineer of Tapeworks. Hi, Bill. How you doing
Hi
today?
there. Good. How are you?
Thanks for that. Good. Thanks for that great video. It was so much fun.
Oh, certainly.
So tell us a little bit more about what you do at Tapeworks.
Well, Tapeworks has been actually in business. We've been here in Hartford for well over 30 years, probably 35 years, something like that. And we do everything. Like the video said, we do a lot of music, but we also we hire voiceover talent. We also, we do sound design. We do sound for picture. We work on a lot of movies and a lot of TV shows. We're so fortunate to be able to do what's called ADR, which is dialogue replacement, where people come into the studio, they watch a video, and they actually replace the lines that are in the TV show or the movie. So we do a bunch of that. And like the video said, you know, if it makes noise, we kind of mess with it. So anything really dealing with sound.
Could you take us through a typical day for you if you're working on a project?
Sure. I mean, the really cool thing about my job is that every day is completely different. Today I'm doing this, which is awesome. And yesterday I was working on a TV show called Holy Moly, where an actor came into the studio and he was watching a video and replacing his dialogue lines. We were recording his voice for the TV show. And then tomorrow I have sound design where I receive a video from my client and there's no sound on it at all. And I get to put all the sound effects in and do Foley and then add music and then add the voice. And then on top of all of that, I get to, at the end, kind of blend all of those elements together. So each day is completely different.
Interesting. Now, for all those kids out there who might be watching today, what advice would you give anyone who might be interested in becoming a sound designer or sound engineer or getting involved in this industry?
There is so much really, really cool software available now to everybody nowadays. There's things like Soundtrap, which is a way to create music online. There's all of these different programs that you could go find. I also recommend, there's just so much knowledge and so many videos on this industry and all of the aspects of this industry, because there's so many of them that, you kind of take a look at that stuff and to be curious and to play around and just, that's how I did it. I mean, I just loved sound and I loved music. And so I just kind of, experimented and definitely would suggest doing some of that.
Great. Thank you for that advice. Now, are you going to make a little music with us today?
I certainly can. Sure, I could do that.
That would be great.
You know what I'll do? So I'll just explain a little about what I'm using. So I use a program called Logic. It's an Apple product. It's also, if you buy an Apple computer, it comes with a program called GarageBand, which is great. It's a free program that allows you to kind of create and make some music and do all of that. And then Logic is its big brother. So once you learn GarageBand, then you get to learn Logic, and Logic has all of these like really cool features. So what I have in front of me here, this is basically, it's called Machina. And Machina allows me to trigger all kinds of different sounds to play against a track. So what I have up here is in my Logic session, maybe something that you might recognize, maybe not, but so hopefully that's coming through okay.
I love that. Wow, that was incredible. Thank you so much, Bill. I really appreciate that. Now I want to download an app so I can make some music. It's not going to be as good as you, but at least I can try. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, Bill. Now, our closing performance today is something really special. We have Kelly Cockerman joining us, who is a poet. And I believe that she's been a poet since a very young age. Is that true, Kelly?
It is. I started writing poetry when I was about 9.
Wow.
So, yeah, I just felt like I needed a voice. I didn't have one, and I could find one on the page. So,
Before you, share a poem with us, is there any advice to young poets out there who might be interested in becoming a professional poet or just doing more poetry?
well, I would say read a lot, read everything that you can, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, poetry. Good writers are good readers. And I think that's the most important thing. And to work with other writers, I think is one of the greatest gifts. So, workshop can be a little scary when someone reads your work and then says, I don't like this and change this. But working with those other people and getting their ideas about your work and their take on it is super helpful.
Yep, you got to take those risks.
Yep.
It helps build self-confidence as well, too.
Absolutely.
So that's great.
Yep.
All right, so I will let you take it away. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you. A former teacher of mine, Jason Schinder, used to say, what gets in the way of the work is the work. Every day, a million little things get in the way of my work, and it's difficult to make the time to write. But it's essential to make the time to write. Writing helps me make sense of the world. And if the world right now is causing as much dust and confusion in your head as it is in mine, writing your way through it is the best gift you can give yourself. So don't worry about others seeing your work. Don't worry about what others may say or think. You can worry about that in editing. But when you're in the first world of the poem, just be in it. If you write already, you know the amazing feeling of chasing words through a field in your mind and pinning them to paper. It's the best feeling. And we could all use more good feelings right now. So whatever is getting in the way of your work, let it into the poem or story that you write. Let it sink right down on the page and relax. See what you can do with it. Accept it. It's not boring or ordinary. It's the small everyday moments of life that are the good stuff, and capturing them for a moment on paper so that you or others can read it later and feel and see and hear exactly what you felt or saw or heard in that moment is the work and the joy of poetry and writing. This doesn't have to be your best poem ever. It just has to be the poem that you write today, even if it's just about what got in the way of your work today. What gets in the way of my work, and so has very often over the years become my work, are my children. So if you're a parent, you understand this. I want to write some mind-blowing poems answering the big questions of life, but what comes out are my kids. So I thought I'd read a few poems today that I've written about the small moments of life with kids that I wanted to capture and hold on to for later. But I'm going to start with one that I wrote for Jason Schinder, my teacher, one day when I was frustrated that all of the mundane things in everyday life were getting in the way of my work. The poem's called Story Problem. If every day there are a finite number of words, and I already gave to the grocer, scattered them to the birds in sunflower shells, tossed them in the wash and set to rinse, how will the poem speak? In a voice perhaps asking for dinner, may I watch TV? In my father's voice, do you hear me, girl? I am calling. In the chatter of water from the pipes above, dripping in giggles. You are not funny, plumber, showing some time between 10 and 6. Words wait for your footsteps, clicking bricks back to your faded van. Or they don't. I am not their keeper. Only a pretend net, swatting at their wings, following their buzz through my busy days. One ear listening, one ear trying to keep up. This next poem is one that I wrote for my son, and he is going to be 20 in a couple of months. And I wrote this when he was 10, and I realized just how quickly time was going and how little we really had left with him before he left home. And the poem's called Half-Life. Instead of counting up in age, we're counting down. Time left before the first child takes his coat and goes. Only 10, already we feel his eyes on us, helpless to stop or slow the leak of light from our star. At 5, my face in the hallway caused fissures in the delicate line of his class. Half again still, he was on my hip, head on my shoulder, one hand holding the collar of my shirt, thumb rubbing round and round the button, the other hand clutching hair at the back of my neck. Now he is more than half as tall as me, his head almost touching my chin when he stands, shaking off my arms. Buried in the back of his drawer with the clean socks, trace amounts of me live in the dust motes on a picture frame, the two of us chasing through a field of Christmas trees. We leave a record of our days with him, preserved in scratches on hardwood floors, a muddy hole between the pine trees where he made a pond, dent in the wall over the couch where his head threw back, laughing. Tonight I will lie down, tease his day from him like a knot, his thoughts swaddled in secrets between boys. Sometimes he still hands them to me on whispers, laughing about Frankie and Chris, a song they sang at lunch with breathless, forbidden words, or a girl so pretty who dropped her books. He doesn't know why I smile at him when he says, "Shh, Mommy, don't tell." My heart flopping like the puppy drum he caught last summer when he was 9, and our time with him barely balanced in our favor, swaying on the floating dock and his awkward growing feet. This next poem is actually for my daughter. If any of you have experience with anxiety or depression, you know what it feels like when those things settle in. I think it's a new experience as a parent to see those things be passed from yourself to your children, and recognize those signs in them. And that's what this poem is about. And it's called Boom. Perhaps the clouds are good for something, bumping elbows overhead, though I can't know what, on my couch, counting thunder. Already the blanket is not warm enough, the fire not bright enough, the pantry sparse. Everything old hurts new today, and I don't know if it is me or autumn swelling in my daughter's eyes. What awful gifts we give our children. I never meant this bolting. Days shortened so suddenly, her open hands grasped at sun. Outside, the swing set abandoned. She and I lit to stillness in our separate rooms. I'm sorry. For the clouds, the couch, my sorrows stair-stepping their way to you through a few wrecked jeans. For this rainy day that sent our curtains reeling to close. I never knew the boom my love would make in you. And this last poem, I also wrote about my son, who played the clarinet in the 4th and 5th grade. As a parent, I'm sure many of you watching have been to those concerts and witnessed all the practice that comes along with your child starting an instrument. So this poem is called Clarinet Practice, and it has an epigraph from Prince. No one plays the clarinet the way you play my heart. Your music sits lonely, bent, where it fell, and you tripped, running for the pool. The folder, soft as old jeans, frayed at the corners and parting like lips. Its mute mouth waits for yours. Is there a name for this devotion? It is August, and for no reason you pull up a stool, Turn the page. Breathe into your instrument. Notes spill out in uneven rows. Chairs tipped. Rhythm tripping over each careless foot. You gasp after every note that rises and falls. Squeaks on a finger misplayed, a tongue that slipped the bind of windsong. Pages turn. You greet each note, fingers raised like flags, ready to march. I am still, silent, eyes lifting to you, heartbeat balanced and tipping into every stop and start.
Kelly, that was so beautiful. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your beautiful words and poetry.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So I wanted to thank everyone who's been with us this week for this incredible virtual summer camp. It's been so much fun for me and our team, and I hope that you guys have had some fun and learned a little bit. I know something that I took away from this entire week is that we can find creative opportunities anywhere, whether you're at home, in your backyard, with your friends, or at the theater. So I hope you find those creative opportunities every day in your life. So we also want to thank all of our guests who have been with us this week. Thank you so much. But also, I want to thank our production team who has been incredible at piecing all of this together. So thank you, Shannon Pace, Taylor Shelley, and Alex Page Hatley. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we're so glad that you've been here with us. Have a great rest of the summer. And thank you to our teachers and essential workers out there. We're so appreciative of all the work that you do. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your summer.